Hello and welcome to our analyst segment. I thought it would be only fitting that for week one, for the recap of Major League Balatro, to bring on the creator of the mod that we are using to play this wonderful league, Virtualized. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
And why don't you give a quick introduction?
Hi, I am, I guess I'm just the creator of Balatro Multiplayer. I'm just a college student from Canada. I don't feel like I have a lot of backstory, but this mod has kind of exploded over the past year, so um, crazy things are happening, and I feel like I'm haven't caught up to it.
I mean, it's a fantastic mod. I mean, we can start there. I will say, I feel like just a college student from Canada starts like it sounds like a great beginning to a great movie. Um,
Yeah.
uh, the mod, I remember hearing about the mod actually not too long after the game came out from Dr. Spectre. I remember I joined the Discord.
Oh yeah.
Um, Not too much was going on with it yet, and honestly, my kind of content creation was going a lot better than I expected, and I got really busy and kind of forgot about it until December. And when I tried it out again, I was blown away. I think this is a common theme, legitimately, with everyone that's playing in this Balatro Multiplayer League is a little bit of skepticism, uh, because you hear a multiplayer mod for any game and you get a little concerned with what needs to go on there. Playing through it and it feeling like a fully fledged out, this was developed, this was supposed to be in the game the whole time. So I don't know if we don't have to get into the technicalities of it, but how long have you been working on it? How when did the vision start? And also, how'd you get it to be so good?
Okay, so first of all, I do think a lot of credit has to go to like Local Thunk and the game itself because it's just such a I'm surprised um I was the first one to do this. I think that Balatro is just a great canvas for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
It like the multiplayer just fits so seamlessly that it's not like I had to do a lot of work to try and make it feel like it was meant to be in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um but yeah, I mean, this started for me as just something. It feels. I don't know why, but it was only a year, just over a year ago now. But it feels like so long ago that I'm just forgetting the details of like why I started doing it. But I was basically just working. I've been programming since I was like 12. Um, and it's very much a passion of mine. And I just like start working on projects all the time and never finish them. But this was something I found and decided to work on just in between my classes and sometimes during in my lectures and I don't know, it was just it wasn't really, I didn't really have a vision for where I wanted to go with it, but it was just very cool to be able to um, see it's almost like making a game, but like all the work has already been done for you, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of a dream for people that are like aspiring game developers, and that you can just make you can I guess I don't really know where I'm going with this, but but you can it's not a lot of work to see something cool and be able to play with something cool that that you implemented. And so I just started messing around with stuff, and um, eventually enough things I added to the game, and it became this. And a lot of credit to early on, I had somebody reached out to me called TGMM, who's in the credit for the mod, and they originally wrote the server and the networking part of the code. So um, so huge shout out to them as well. They're not active in the project anymore, but they did help kickstart this a lot. And yeah, I've pretty much been working on this since about a week after the full game released. I hadn't heard about it in beta or anything like that. I just saw when the game released, I saw like a Ludwig video or a Northern Lion video on the game, and it got me interested. And I quickly found that it was easy to mod. There was this page. I forget who the creator of it was, but there's a GitHub page um, by somebody which was just titled Awesome Balatro. I think you can still find it. It's just
Hmm.
basically a list of like every Balatro mod. It's probably not updated anymore, but
I
yeah, I
remember
found
that
that
list.
and I found it was very easy to mod and it got me into just messing around with it. And I guess I decided to make a multiplayer mod because I was less interested in mods that added content to the game and more interested in other stuff you could do with it. But and I've always been interested in multiplayer games. Like I've tried playing multiplayer in pretty much every single player game I had the opportunity to play multiplayer in, like Slime Rancher or Subnautica or anything like that. All those games have multiplayer mods, and I've always been fascinated by those developers, I guess. So
Yeah, I
I,
mean,
I I don't think that answer was definitely all over the place, but hopefully that's hopefully you
you
got something out of that.
covered a ton of bases, and you covered a lot of topics I've heard other aspiring programmers or game developers talk about. Where modding's a great first step because Local Thunk did a lot of the hard work of getting a game design there that worked really well. Of course, I think you did a great job of finding what way to implement multiplayer because I always racked my brain on how I would do it. I never came up with this, and I think this is 10 times better than any ideas that I had heard on how you would take on multiplayer. But because that game design was already there, you're just finding the multiplayer aspect, and then of course you have to balance the game for multiplayer, and you have created some really interesting multiplayer jokers, but a lot of that balancing is, I always hear Dr. Spector say this, it's just tweaking the numbers. So
Yeah.
you're able to take a project that I think was, you know, obviously it's won, it should have won in my opinion game of the year across the board, and just finesse it into a multiplayer framework. But I think a lot of people hear that, and again, they get a little skeptical. And just all the credit to you, and then anybody who's worked on a project. I think it was done way above anyone's expectations, and I won't say it's flawless, but it feels flawless, and it's I think what allowed. You were talking to me before we started recording about how this has kind of been blowing up. I think there's no way this blows up unless it's exceeding people's expectations by this much because it is a little bit of a barrier entry. First of all, you have to be okay with modding, and then you have to be okay with the multiplayer aspect. But because it just looks so good and it feels so easy to play on, and there's nothing extra you really have to do. You install the mod and you join a queue on the Discord, and all of a sudden you're playing against somebody, and everything's just working. So again, a ton of
I
credit
hear
to
that a
you.
lot when people. I mean, maybe this is my own skepticism of myself, but I hear that a lot of people saying this is amazing. I can't believe you got this like you made this like so flawlessly. Like it feels so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And the response I have to that is this. I have been working on this for a year, so
Mm-hmm.
like it was definitely not smooth. like
Fair, fair.
when it was first created and it's just slowly been uh, it's just slowly been built over the course of that year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did explode very recently, and I think that's why a lot of people are surprised at how good it is
That
because
they're seeing a more finished
uh,
product.
yeah, they're seeing a very finished product compared to what it was when it came out.
And I think it's only, I mean, we're on iteration. Technically, I think you've labeled it like 0.25, or we still have a
Yeah,
ways to
it's
go to where you want to be. But I'm really excited to be on that journey. But thank you for all the background about multiplayer. I think my next question before we kind of, well, you know what, let's do this first. What are your thoughts on Major League Balatro, thus far? Just generally the league format, the competitors, and the games that you've been able to catch. It's a very open-ended question, but I'd love to hear the thoughts from the creator of the mod themselves, how we've done in terms of kind of putting your mod, showcasing your mod in a competitive format.
I mean, I think it's great. It's great. I don't think. I mean, I do sort of have a vision for like what I want to see out of competitive Balatro multiplayer, but I think that the Major League fits well into that. You guys are running vanilla instead of standard,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't blame you for. I think that it's a lot more, um, I guess, easy for somebody who isn't in the community to understand.
Yeah.
And our changes aren't always the best. I know you're not a fan of the timer, and probably Conjoined Joker has a lot of haters. Um, so yeah, I think it's great, and
Yeah, I think we chose vanilla because exactly what you said. We wanted to showcase the mod in a gateway type fashion to a wide audience. I've been blown away by the reception to the league, and I keep saying I
yeah,
hope there's a season 2. If there's a season 2, I definitely think we at the very least blend the rule set versus what's standard for the ranked queue, for example. And for those who don't know, there's a ranked queue on Balatro Multiplayer Discord. You can compete on the leaderboards in that ranked queue, and that ranked queue has multiplayer jokers, some different rules, some modifiers to existing jokers to make the gameplay a little bit more interesting. But we, for the league, are just playing on vanilla. But I think we've already kind of succeeded, and I can definitely envision us playing on more of the ranked side if there's future seasons. Now that everyone's kind of taste, more understands the mod, the gameplay, the style. I think as the season goes on, we'll also see why there was some changes to vanilla as people start to really figure out the game.
yeah.
But it's still this first week, every game went down to the wire. It was still super exciting to watch, and it definitely did not feel boring. With that said,
And
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I, I do. You also have a point here about like what styles I see successful in multiplayer, and a part of the reason we split off from vanilla and started making changes to the base game is because um in like competitive play it gets very consistent, like the style of play you see. Um so so our standard is kind of a deviation from that, and I think that even without multiplayer jokers, the standard format it is a lot more enjoyable to play and watch personally.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we actually did in the recent 0.2.3 version. Glass was accidentally banned, and then we reintroduced it with the latest version, and people have been saying they want to go back to Glass being fully banned. So we might see that in the future. I'm not sure.
It's a constant battle of like tweaking the game to make it interesting, but not over tweaking it to get away from Balatro. Or
Yeah.
people are always playing a competitive game are gonna find the most optimal way to play and then move to there. And it's like, how do you want to stay up to date on that, but at some point you have to stop tweaking a little bit and just understand like, okay, this is the most optimal way, but at least it's fun and it's divergent and there's enough different ways that people are playing. Um,
Exactly.
I think that's always going to be a difficult thing with multiplayer Balatro, just because the way that the game's played is I don't have too much of a say on what my opponent does. Now that may change as more multiplayer jokers are introduced and stuff like that, but because of that, both players are going to be going on this kind of optimal path where they uh, kind of meet each other at the peak, if you will, of the scores.
Yeah.
So next question I have for you is what speaking on that on optimal play, what are some strategies that you've seen? I mean, you've seen more multiplayer Balatro than anybody. You host these weekly tournaments in the Discord. Um, if you were to give one tip to everybody in the league, noting we are playing on vanilla, what would that tip be that you see the most successful, the super high MMR players?
I feel like it's hard to give a tip that is like there are some things that you want to be doing specifically in multiplayer
Hmm.
that make slight differences to the base game, but a lot of my tips are typically tips I would give to anybody playing the base game as well. Like a lot of things I say to the new players joining the Discord saying how do you get better is just the standard stuff like econ 100% so important the whole
Yeah.
game. Like and these are just like things you tell just single player Balatro players as well.
Yeah.
But if you wanted a tip specifically for multiplayer, I think that people underestimate some jokers in multiplayer, especially if they haven't played multiplayer before, because it's kind of a different mindset going into multiplayer where you only need one good hand per ante
Hmm.
instead of being able to score consistently like you would in regular Blotcho, and especially people who are like very into gold stake and stuff like that, they usually play extremely consistently. But with multiplayer, it's very different, and Joker's like loyalty card that I probably wouldn't ever pick up in in single player Blotcho. I pick up quite often actually in multiplayer because you just need to prepare that one huge hand, and that's all you need per ante, I guess.
I had a conversation. We did a VOD review today, Malf and I, of Malf's first game against Doctor, and there was several points in the game where Malf could have beat Doctor. Like he straight up could have won. One of those points that we discussed was picking up Dusk, and especially since Malf is pretty new to multiplayer Balatro. He only had like 3 or 4 games under his belt before taking on Doctor Spectre. He did ridiculously well under those circumstances, but one of those was passing on Dusk. And he told me, he's like, I understood retriggers were important. I think my brain is just so used to seeing Dusk and never picking it up because all I play is Gold Stake Balatro that I forgot that it what it even did. Like my brain even registered in the shop, and I think that is me with loyalty card. And I do think playing multiplayer on Gold Stake is such an interesting dichotomy because you have to survive the first 2 blinds, and the way to survive is play consistently. But then you have to win your PvP battle, which is all about getting one big hand, and it makes a really fun experience to play multiplayer on Gold Stake. But I think that's a great tip, and I think going back, your tip about econ is so true. I think the way you have to play PvP Balatro is kind of like you're on Gold Stake no matter what, in that you need to be min maxing every single hand of every single blind, every single shop
Yep.
for econ.
Yeah, you aren't playing a casual game anymore. If you're playing against somebody else, they're optimizing every hand they play, so you better
Yeah.
get the most value of every hand you play as well.
All right. So you were able to catch the game of Belenos Bear and myself. We talked a little bit how the first game, the seed, was really interesting. We had legendaries, we had all the points you would ever want, and the difference between Bear and I was a simple retriggering Joker. But any thoughts on that matchup that you wanted to speak to?
I don't think I had any thoughts in mind, but it was interesting to me. You were saying in the game that the difference was a showman that Bear took at some point, which caused them not to see something that you picked up. I forget exactly what happened there, but
So a really
um,
interesting aspect of Balatro multiplayer is we're playing on the same seed, right? And the things that can diverge a seed, I think, I don't want to say substantially, but enough to really change the outcome. One of those is Showman. And what happened is
yeah,
Bear picked up a Showman, entered a Spectral pack, and instead of seeing Ectoplasm, saw 2 Trance Spectral cards. And the
yeah,
chances of that happening are still 1 in 17. Like, he got very unlucky that that happened to happen to him, but that was the difference in the game. So I ended up having the extra Joker because I took Ectoplasm.
yeah. Yeah, I think we in the Balatro multiplayer community, we've introduced a new mod to ranked and tournament play called the Order,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean I'm not going to get into it here very much, but it basically just makes it so that you can't miss jokers and stuff in the shop that the other person would see. So I think it kind of comes back to that um, where I think I lost my train of thought, but but
Like, so I'm actually curious. I don't know how the order works with Showman. Would that mean Bear, if he saw that trance in the spectral pack, the next spectral pack you would see would have an ectoplasm, like it would still be next in the queue? Or does
no.
Showman replace stuff in the queue?
No, it's actually because actually Showman always shows you the true queue, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The double trance was really what the queue what the real queue was, and
Uh-huh.
you didn't see double trance because you didn't have Showman. So when the second trance tried to spawn, um, it got blocked, and so another card was randomly generated. Um,
Oh, it's
and
randomly generated. So it doesn't just skip it and show me the next card in the queue, it replaces it.
no,
Oh.
it doesn't show you the next. Well, okay, so it has. I believe there's like a backup queue,
Uh-huh.
and it comes from that, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
um. But yeah, it doesn't come from the main queue. It's not like you're just seeing the next card in the queue. And if you're talking about jokers, then that it'll come from the same rarity as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had Showman and you saw a rare joker that you already had, then your enemy would be seeing a different rare joker
Yes.
if they didn't have Showman.
That's really interesting to think about. So, I mean, that is something that's going to cause real diversification in a game. And I think, like,
Yeah, Showman can mix stuff up a lot.
yeah, my thought process is Showman to me is a grab if I feel like I'm slightly behind or I need something to go my way over my opponent. If I feel like I'm in a comfortable spot, I'm never taking Showman because I don't need to diverge. Even though it's one of those things where I think it's truly 50-50. Like, it can help or hurt you. I guess if you happen to have, like, not going on a tangent here, but if you happen to have every Joker that you could want, right? You had Bloodstone, Ancient, Idol, Sock, Dusk, and you're like, I would only want more of these. Maybe you take it, but
Yeah.
uh, most of the time, for me, it's gonna be a pass in multiplayer.
Yeah, and I think it becomes more interesting with the order because uh, I'm not saying I would take it more often, but because the order is supposed to make it so much more consistent where your opponent's never really going to miss out on something that you see, Showman could really mix that up. And it could be it could be a strategy for a player, but I don't know if that is necessarily good or bad.
Yeah. No, I think it is a strategy. I mean, we saw with Malf and Dr. Spectre this week that Malf went for black deck gold stake and plasma deck gold stake because it kind of leads to a little bit of chaos. And it's like when you're playing against someone that you think is really good and is so good at min maxing, sometimes you want to introduce a little bit of chaos to the game just to see what happens. And I think it really worked out in their favor. But I think
Yeah, that's something we've been talking about with skip tags as well. Like
yes,
typically you'd never take a skip tag in multiplayer unless it's like first small blind investment tag,
investment
maybe you
tag.
take it.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, it's kind of like people have been recommending to worse players to start taking early rare tags, just because you might get that advantage you need over a higher skilled player.
Hmm.
And it's all about just like changing the dynamic. Like you're not playing on the same playing field anymore, and that could be really good for you, or that could be really bad for you. But it's just a gamble.
It is a game. I talking to Malf today. I did sway him to not do that in terms of I think when I was playing Doctor, the first few matches I ever played in multiplayer, I was losing because I think that was my mindset is, oh, they're better than me. I need to try and do something. I think you need to have like the best way to get good at this game is have faith in yourself and just start making the most optimal decisions.
Yeah,
Um,
I
like
agree.
you, yeah, you'll if you're playing in maybe a tournament and there's something on the line and you know this player's just too good, maybe you could try it. But I think generally speaking, when you're just practicing playing the queue, try and make the most optimal decisions. But I do, I, that is an option you have in your back pocket, or let's say in the middle of a game, even if you are a skilled player, being like, All right, I'm desperate. Let's try to skip tag on this small blind of down 3-1 in live, see if we get something. I think there's a little bit of an argument there.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Virtualized, for staying down with me. I think this last discussion topic is extremely important because, for those who don't know, multiplayer games have to run on a server, which means there are server costs, and this mod has been blowing up. So, where can the community support you and support the multiplayer mod?
Well, I have a Ko-fi link, coffee link. That is it does show up at the game win and game over screen of every multiplayer game. So go ahead and download the mod if you like it and you want to support me. Then that link will show up at some point for you. And but yeah, join. I think the best way to support outside of donations is be a part of the community. The more people that are playing ranked and tournaments is uh, really helps improve the mod in the community. So definitely do that. And also go check out our new website, balatromp.com. Has information for installing the mod. It has all of our leaderboards, a bunch of information. Um, check that out.
I think that is it Andy who created the website, Virtualized?
Yes, it is Andy.
A little heads up, people watching this video. Andy is working on a couple of tabs for Major League Balatro on the website. We got MajorLeagueBalatro.com, so we're gonna 310 it to the website for the time being, and maybe just have a tab there so people can stay up to date on our leaderboard and the schedule.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking 30 minutes out of your busy schedule between college, the mod, and generally just, living your life. And I hope you have a
No
great day,
problem.
and looking forward to talking to you more.
Oh, I should say, if you are a regular, uh, a regular person, not a content creator or streamer, and you want to participate in events like these, we do host weekly tournaments every Saturday and Sunday, and we also are starting championships, which are like bigger scale tournaments for just regular people. So if you're interested in that, make sure to join the Discord.
Yeah, and you may run into me in some of those.
Yeah,
I'm definitely been having a ton of fun with the ranked queue, and the tournaments haven't been at the perfect time for me to be able to compete just because my schedule has been jam packed. But I am looking forward to joining a couple of them. I had a ton of fun in the team tournament that was run by you and your. Well,
yeah. Thank you for having me.
talk to you soon.